Broadcasting from Baltimore, Maryland, this is 5x3 Radio, where strength is for everyone. I'm your host, Emily Sokolinski, owner of 5x3 Training, a strength and conditioning gym in Baltimore, along with my co-host, Rebecca Fishburne, founder of Cornerstone Strength Maryland. Each week, Rebecca and I will discuss the ins and outs of strength training, why there is a no one-size-fits-all approach, and why strength is so important in our daily lives. Thanks for spending some time with us today. Now, on with the show. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Rebecca and I are here on this lovely November 1st. Actually, it's pretty cold. Actually,
yeah, it's super cold and windy.
It's lovely, but it's really cold. Like we went from, as one of my clients said, second summer to fall.
Yeah, and I think it's going to get warm again this weekend.
Yes, it is. But yeah, we
can't figure out our temperature around here in Maryland.
I'll take the fall weather. I'll take it. It's snowing in Colorado. It's, it's cold here, and it'll get warm and then it'll get cold again. And November's always cold. So that's just, how it's always been.
And everybody will get sick.
Everybody's been sick. Everybody will get sick and has been sick. It was also daylight savings, which I'm not upset about. For the first time, I'm actually not upset about it getting darker earlier because it will be lighter in the morning. And I've had such a hard time getting up in the morning with it being so dark.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like, it's 7:00 in the morning and it's still dark outside.
I know this every year, but it just seems to be affecting me more now. And getting darker earlier, I'm like, whatever, fine, let it be dark earlier. I just want some light in the morning. I don't want to have to stumble into the bathroom blindly, reaching for things. I can't find anything because, it's pitch black. Yeah. I'm turning my phone on to walk down the stairs.
Yeah. And my dog apparently already realizes that the time should have changed or is changing because she's asking for her dinner at 3 p.m. now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's already getting darker and it's okay. And I'm okay with it. I can say for the first time in forever, I'm not dreading it being dark at 5:00 at night, which is really the opposite of me from every other year for as long as I can remember. And we're talking about daylight savings and this kind of, Rebecca and I were thinking about, topics and what should we talk about? And we're always kind of going back and forth with ideas. And we did this topic about, probably, I guess it was a year ago, around the same time, but we thought we'd kind of, bring it up again and touch on it again. It's November, right? And November is Thanksgiving. And then what comes after Thanksgiving? Christmas. So not only do we have daylight savings, then we have the holidays, then we have the new year. And within a 2-month span of time, there could be a lot of feelings, happy feelings, sad feelings, retrospective, there's a lot going on. And thinking about our talk with Fred recently about mental health, that's why I can say I'm surprised at this time of year, I'm not dreading turning the clocks back and it getting darker earlier because I feel like I'm in a much better space now than I was even about a month ago. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for many people, this time of year can be great, getting together with family and friends. And for many people, it can be a very sad time of year. If they've lost a loved one, if it's an anniversary or a birthday, even coming around of somebody who is not here with us. And, then it being dark and cold, a lot can happen.
Yeah. And also even just the 2 holidays back to back.
Right.
There's, the Thanksgiving holiday, and then, a lot of religious traditions have a winter holiday.
Right.
So there's a lot of getting together with family, and, you don't pick and choose your family the same way you pick and choose your friends. So there can be a lot of feelings around that too.
There's that too.
Relationships that have maybe changed over the years or become more difficult or estranged or,
Yeah.
Maybe you got a great family relationship. Not to say that doesn't happen. There are
No. There's some of those. Yes, there are some of those. But most of us have dysfunctional families. And so it's like, oh, great. I get to have Thanksgiving with people okay, never mind. So why are we talking about this? Well, we're strength coaches. So of course it's going to, center around our training. and our clients who train, and what can happen to us during this time of year when we're trying to train. We're still trying to get our training in, right? And yet we're being pulled in different directions because of, either holiday gatherings, or, we're not feeling 100% because of things that are going on in our lives, or we're remembering people or things that are making us sad, and then the darkness doesn't help. So what can we do in regards to our training? Here we have to go lift, right? And we don't want to. I mean, there's so many different ways we can approach this. So
Yeah, I
what
mean,
do
like
you,
you're talking about like how these different factors that we've just enumerated might
yes,
affect somebody's motivation to train. But on the other end of that, all of the things that we've just listed are stressors. And
exactly.
so there may also be effect to a person's ability to recover. So,
Hmm.
I mean, we might kind of take a look at it from those two perspectives, in terms of motivation, and then also in terms of better enhancing recovery during a time that's stressful, and just sort of, highlight some techniques or approaches that have worked for us or have worked for
Yeah.
clients.
Because you're saying for some, for you for training, you may be able to get away from your family, and training may be a great stress release, and relief. And for others, they may not be able to get to their training, or their training is going to be interrupted. So, first of all, what are some things that, someone should say to themselves, like as they approach maybe the next couple of weeks with the holidays and with family gatherings and children getting off of school and, such and such. First thing I would say is be good to yourself and don't beat yourself up. Number one, just
Yeah.
approach the next couple months as I'm going to get in what I can get in.
Yeah,
I
and
think
if you're a person who is lifting in order to enhance the overall quality of your life and to maintain strength and independence and to age well, then, if you miss a workout here or there, if you end up having to take a week off because of family obligations, in the grand scheme of things, if you're looking at the big picture, that's not such a huge setback. So kind of
exactly.
keeping your eye on the overall big picture can be helpful. If you end up having to switch your schedule around, it's not worth beating yourself up about it.
Right. Right. Last Tuesday, I wasn't feeling well. I went home Monday night and I was fine Monday during the day, but Monday evening I could definitely tell that my body was not 100%. And I woke up Tuesday morning just flat out like a truck had run me over. No congestion, no coffee, anything like that, but just extreme fatigue. And I mean, I'm talking like I slept all day. Couldn't even knit. Emily can't knit.
Yeah. Oh, it's bad.
That's like the second day I had COVID, when I had a couple of years, like 2 years ago or so. I was like flat out on my butt. I couldn't watch a movie. I couldn't knit. I couldn't do anything. And that's how I felt last Tuesday. So of course I missed my training session, which was squatting and deadlifts and things like that. So yesterday I had my session, and I even texted Diego. I said, I'm so smart. I'm getting so much smarter in my old age, right? I trained fine the rest of the week last week, right? I recovered. Wednesday was fine. Thursday, Friday was fine. Friday was a great session. But I knew that coming into my Tuesday session, it wasn't going to be like pick back up where I left off. So I just did kind of what I could do. I did just enough. I did 2 sets of my accessory exercises. I didn't do too much squatting. I'm sore today. I'm like, I could feel like I did work yesterday, and I'd missed those exercises last week. But I was definitely in that mindset of, I'm doing this. I'm lifting. I'm not trying to hit any records today. I don't know. I'm not going to try and hit any records next week. This is purely for me because it's my training day. I enjoy this, and I need to ease back into it and not completely put myself out so that I can't walk for the next 3 days and I feel miserable. So that's where you kind of start to give yourself the permission to have a day where, you miss. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
It's not all about PR sometimes, right?
Yeah. It's the consistency. It's the habit. And like you're describing, like having a plan B. Like
Right.
you've got your program, that's your plan A. Sometimes you've got to implement a plan B.
always. Sometimes a plan C, right? Sometimes a plan C.
Yeah.
I mean, people will write out their sessions for the week, and I'll write my sessions out for the week, after a week of training, but it's not set in stone. And I always tell people that this is never set in stone. And you can't get frustrated with people, I guess at this time of year too, who are wanting you to do things like this. Should be a time, if you want to enjoy the holidays or enjoy time with your family and your friends, give yourself just enough time to get some training in so you can enjoy yourself. I think that, oftentimes we just get so worked up and like, if I miss a session, it's going to set me back 5 months. No, it's not. It's not. Like, unless you're getting paid to do this, I don't think anyone's getting paid
Well, not anybody I
to
know.
lift. Not anybody I know. Right. It should be a stress relief, right? I think lifting should be a time where you can go in and get something done. If you're in there or in the gym or at home in your home gym and you're stressing about your workout, it's going to make it harder. It's just not going to be, it's not good. It's not good for you to stress about it, because it's supposed to be a time for you to just kind of like give yourself your own time. So that's why I think number one is don't ever beat yourself up. Like, try to maintain a sense of like, what, this is important to me, but it's not my life. And I think that's sometimes we get caught up in that of like, this is my life. No, it's not. It's something that you do that enhances your life. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be 24/7. And it doesn't have to be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It can be Monday, Friday. Wednesday could be just get in and squat day, just get in and press day. The consistency, as you said, is what matters.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, not beating yourself up, or, being a little bit gracious with yourself, I think is good advice. And I think also, I would encourage people to be realistic and plan ahead based on sort of a realistic assessment. So if you always lift on Monday, Wednesday, Friday,
right,
but you know that on the Friday you're going to have to travel because there's a holiday, or you know that you're going to be at a relative's house Thursday, Friday, Saturday, plan ahead. There's probably in a three-day series of lifts, there's probably, you if you're able to do a heavy and a volume and maybe skip your light day or cut out some of the accessory lifts, and figure out how to plan ahead for the days that you do have. That's, I think, usually helpful in reducing some of the stress, or some of the negative feelings that you might have around, missing a workout. Get the big things in there on the days that you have available, and then be willing to let go of some of the other stuff that is normally in your program that you just, come back to the next week.
Very good. Yeah. Yeah. I think we get caught up in like, I have to get everything in, but you don't. And I for one, and like I said, I've definitely have seen myself, there's been a nice shift in myself, my own training, where I can say to myself, 2 sets today. 2 sets is great. You did 2 sets. Do you need to do 3 or 4 sets? Is something going to happen to your arms? They're going to fall off. You're going to lose all that muscle if you don't get that 3rd set in. But in my mind and my mental state, let's say, I don't know, before it might have been like, well, yeah, of course, of course my arms are going to fall off. I'm not going to. Now it's like, it's not. I mean, I'm looking at the time and I'm thinking about all the things I have to do. And I say to myself, I got the main work in. All this extra stuff has to going to start to go away anyway. As I get closer to the meet, I'm doing the Stronger Together meet. And even now it's like, it's okay to cut back. I have something else coming up. So I need to make sure that I give myself time to get to that next, event, or get home to do the podcast with Rebecca. I mean, it's that feeling of like, I got work done. Tomorrow's another day. Yeah. But I think we get caught up sometimes in that sense of like, but if I miss, I'm going to fall back behind.
Yeah. And that's sort of where you get into, like, some people have such rigid thinking in their approach to their training, that good enough, what's the expression? Perfect is the enemy of good enough, or however that goes. I can't
Perfection
remember
is the enemy of success or something, or progress, maybe.
Someone can Google that for me. I'll Google it later. But the point being, like, sometimes you might need to think outside the box.
Yeah.
So, maybe you normally do something that is like a 3 day, heavy, light, medium kind of program. And maybe you only have 2 days that week, and maybe it's like a Monday and a Tuesday, and you're traveling on the Wednesday. Well, what if on that week you did an upper body day and a lower body day, and you got like the big lifts in for the week, and then kind of just came back to it again the next week. No worse for having skipped some of the other. I mean, whatever.
Right. I mean, if your program is,
As much
yeah,
consistency as you're able to,
yeah.
but be flexible and do what you can given what your schedule is.
I think flexibility is the one thing that sometimes that many people have a hard time with. They have a hard time with being flexible
Well,
because,
it's because we think it's a program and a
right,
prescription, and you
right,
wouldn't dare not follow the doctor's orders on your
right,
prescription medication. I don't
right,
know.
right. But I mean, if most
I'm a
people
little
are,
liberal in my use of ibuprofen here and there.
I
I don't
mean,
always follow those directions.
but if most people are doing, if most people are doing the big lifts, if they're squatting, they're pressing, and they're deadlifting, then yeah, getting in and just squatting, you've done it. Like you've done the major lift. You've kind of done the full body exercise. You've gotten everything in. Like, do you have to go and get the deadlift in too? They don't. You can do that on another day. I have a client who's made a great program for himself. He does one big lift, and if he has time, he'll do two. Right, but sometimes he'll just come in and he'll squat, and he's gonna and he goes home because he's got a child, and he's got a wife, and she's busy with work. She's running around. This is a time of year for her where there's a lot going on. So she's out of the house a lot and down in DC. So he just kind of like gets in at 4:30, and then he goes and he picks up, his daughter, and he's made great. I mean, he's strong. So, but he's still made great progress, and he's been consistent. He's like, this is a great program. I said, it's a brilliant program. Like,
Yeah.
that's what it should be.
Sounds totally doable given those time constraints and those other
Yeah.
responsibilities that he
Yeah.
has.
Same with another client who's got a new baby, and he gets in, and when he has time, he'll do his full program. And when he doesn't have time, we worked it out. I said, you work up to a set of 5, and then you move on to the next exercise. You don't do sets across. You just do 5s all the way up. So all the warm-ups are 5s, right? Mm-hmm. And we did that when we were, outside during COVID, before we could be inside. We had like an hour time constraint. Right. Mm-hmm. I told everybody, I'm like, none of you are doing sets across. Work up to a heavy set and move on. And he loves it. So when he has time, he does more. When he has, not as much time, he does what he can. He's been getting in. Baby's about a month old now, and he's been getting in. So this is not quite, holiday related, but that's the thing. It's like you can take that same programming and, and make it holiday, and party related, so that you have to, if the party's at 7, but, you get off at work at, 4:30, well, get in for an hour, leave, go home. Do you get your whole session in? No. But do you need to get the whole session in? No. If you can be flexible, if you're flexible enough on that, and you have to just kind of tell yourself, be flexible, because
and then I think also hand in hand with that is, being flexible or being creative in your approach, trying to get in what you are able to get in, and viewing it in a way that, I don't know, maybe you see it as a little vacation or an adventure or an experiment. Let's see what happens if, as opposed to approaching it with a negative attitude.
Sure.
Like,
yes.
Look at what I'm missing. Look at what I have to do because of, and
yes.
resentment or something more along those lines. So the attitude towards the altered schedule makes a big difference too.
Yeah.
But initially, I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
No, I was going to say, and nobody wants to hear you complain about the fact that you missed your session or you missed half your session. Like, no one gives a shit. I'm sorry. Like, no one wants to hear you complain about that. Like, I don't want to hear people complain. I mean, I'm not going to complain to people, because nobody cares. Like, this is the time of year where, people want to be with you. And if you're going to be a little selfish to a point where, you're going to be, bemoaning the fact that you didn't get your deadlift in, because such and such needed me to come at such and such a time. Well, maybe we don't want to hang around.
You're real fun.
You're real fun. I mean, I mean, yes, again, it's important, but
Yeah.
so
A little
other things.
perspective. A little
Yes,
perspective.
a little perspective.
Yeah. So that's sort of one end of the spectrum. People who love their lifting or feel
Yes.
so obligated by it that the idea of even having to change their program for a week to accommodate travel is, difficult to
Yes.
comprehend. Okay, what about the other end of the spectrum that you were
Mhm.
mentioning initially, where people are just feeling
Yes.
overwhelmed, stressed, maybe affected by the lack of sunshine, a
Yeah.
little, kind of in a funk. What
Yeah.
what do you have for
I
people in
think,
that
I
space?
mean, I think that and this is maybe different from what I've said in the past or thought, but I would tell people, take time off. Don't worry. Don't stress about the gym. You're not going to lose much. It's better for you to rest. Maybe you need to get more sleep. And if you need to sleep, sleep. Right. I'm not going to tell anybody, get yourself out of bed, pull yourself up, get your clothes on, get out the door. No, if you need that time to just rest your mind, rest your body, go for a walk, get out, even if it's just so, and get outside for yourself, but not feel like you have to be somewhere. Don't do that. I had a client who just emailed me just about that. There's been a lot going on in his life, and it's all good. It's nothing major. But he said, I'm just taking some time. I'm just kind of pulling back a bit to give my body a rest. I think that's a healthy approach, because sometimes we try to push ourselves, or drag ourselves in somewhere, and that might make us more miserable. And it also may be counter to what we wanted, counterproductive, right? Then we get frustrated because some things don't feel good. Why'd I come here in the first place? I didn't want to come here in the first place. Now I'm here, nothing's moving well. Screw it. I'm going home. Better maybe just to give it
I'm
up.
taking my ball and going home.
Right. What was it? Who's it in South Park? Is it a
Cartman?
Cartman?
I don't know.
Screw you guys. I'm going home. So I think that's at this time, if you can get in, if you're going through a rough patch and you can come in once a week, even just getting in once probably is even good enough, and then maybe the next week it might be two times if you're used to coming in, like, let's say 3 times or something like that, or even 4 times a week. I think being good to yourself is literally telling yourself, you know what, I can't go in today. Okay.
Yeah. And so, I mean, like you're saying, like somebody might need to take some time off. I think similar to that, it might be a situation where just taking a different approach to the training
Yes, or
might be
that.
what somebody needs. A shift in focus. If they've been really working hard on trying to hit a PR, maybe, shift the focus with their
Yes.
lifting. Or maybe there's even some other type of movement or exercise, gasp, oh no,
Oh, yeah.
that
Right.
that a person enjoys that actually, maybe affects them differently, lifts their mood. Maybe they're outside to do whatever that activity is, and maybe being outside in sunshine and nature has a positive effect on their overall outlook. And so, again, like I was saying before, if you can approach it with an attitude of experimentation and wonder, like, I wonder what would happen if I
Mhm.
tried a different type of program.
Mhm.
Similarly, I have an online client who has had some struggles, and what has gotten him back into the gym recently was his kids, their interest.
Mhm.
They
Mm.
wanted to know. And so, I mean, again, like, how great is that? Kids have wonder and interest and excitement. And if you can find a lift buddy or teach a kid, get a kid started, share that experience with them, that might also be something that kind of rekindles your love of lifting,
That's right.
if it's something that you're feeling low about at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it could just be literally going somewhere. I mean, actually having to get into the car and driving to a place. So if it's easy to just take a walk, if it's easier to go for a run, go for a jog, that's great. I had a member who for about 2 months did just that. She ran. She just, there was so much going on in her life. She was that literally trying to just kind of, she didn't want to go into the gym to lift weights. She just wanted to run. She's like, it wasn't because I like running. I hate running, but she needed that kind of energy release. And I was like,
yeah, like you're
fine,
describing,
good.
there's something about running is just so convenient, right?
It
You just
is.
go from your doorstep. Really, all you have to do is put on some running shoes.
I used to
Honestly,
do
it's
it. I used
crazy,
to.
but I've seen people out running in jeans
Yeah.
before, you know, so
No, I mean, I used to run. No, I mean, it's, I tell people all the time that they, when you talk about, running's not so great for you and this and that. But I mean, if you enjoy running, you love running and it feels good, of course you run. I mean, it's a no brainer, but sometimes you just need to do something different. And I like what you said about just, changing up your program, switching things up for a few weeks, for a month. I did that. I did that way back. I've been doing this training after Diego and I, started the program back in 2010. And, fast forward like a year later or so after Charlotte's diagnosis, I could feel that my body was just not happy. Nothing was feeling good. So I took a month off from the barbell training. I did some kettlebell work. I mean, I did, but and I loved it. And I was dancing. So I was dancing at the time, but it felt great. And then when I was ready to get back to it, I got back to it. I didn't feel guilty about it. I didn't feel, ashamed. And I think there's something to that effect too, right? We get kind of caught up in, well, I have to keep doing this. This is the program. This is what I'm supposed to do. And I don't know who told them that, but it's kind of ingrained in some of our heads, that it's okay not to squat or it's okay not to squat with the barbell, right. So it's the consistency, it's the release. If it's running, if it's squatting, if it's biking, if it's coming in and doing one lift, if it's coming in and doing only accessories, I mean, it's sometimes you just need that break, especially during this time where there's so much in your face, right? There's so much stimulation and people coming at you and calling you and you trying to get work done before the holidays. And I find people are always kind of stressed out around this time of year because they're being pulled in so many directions. Luckily, I'm not invited to a lot of things, so I don't have to be.
Thinking, Emily, it's probably people get stressed out because you and I surround ourselves with other introverts.
I don't get invited to things. I don't go out anywhere. I have no holiday parties I have to worry about, So I'm not stressed about anything. One thing I'm looking forward to is, my niece and nephew coming in December. Yeah. So I can't wait for that. That's about it. That's what I'm looking forward to. But it's being realistic with yourself and realistic with what you can do at this time. And, if you're not feeling 100%, stop and ask yourself why. Go back and listen to our podcast that we did with Dr. Hout. In fact, one of my listeners told me she was going to visit her primary to discuss some things because after listening to that, so it helped her a lot.
Oh, good.
She was looking forward to it, and it really helped her a lot to kind of gain some think about what's been going on and what she needs to do to make things, better. So it's we don't always know what's going on in people's lives. So we can't, I definitely as a coach, I'm not going to berate people for, not showing up to the gym. If I might reach out to somebody and check on them. But then when I hear what's going on, it's always going to be, I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you're here. Get in when you can.
Well, I think it's like a lot of things that just you're taught with, coaching or starting strength about the why behind what we do and how we do what we do.
Right.
Same thing with somebody who's not showing up for lifting. You don't start out by berating them. You find out why.
Right.
Find out why, empathize, sort of figure out, well, okay, is there something else that we could do that would work better?
Right.
Or better for you at the moment.
Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes it could just be that, work really was just getting to it's just been work. It's been family. It's been travel. There's nothing wrong with the program. It's just that there's been a lot on my plate. And, lucky for us, I mean, we have, you have a home gym. I've got a gym that I can go to. And I enjoy my training. Sometimes I go and I'm just kind of like there doing it because that's what I do. And other times I'm really happy that I'm there. But I don't I try not to stress too much these days about, if I miss, what do I do? How do I pick up the pieces? I'm going to fall so far behind. It's just, that's something that it's not worth it. And I like when you talked about making a plan, like planning ahead, kind of like food prepping, right? For those who want to, get in and keep training. Diego's had to, he's had a couple different had a couple of different business trips that he's had to go on recently. So he's moved his schedule, right? He would come in, he actually went to the gym on a Sunday morning. And Sundays were closed. So, but we have other people, there doing stuff, running one-on-one stuff with other coaches. And he came in and he moved his sessions from Sunday to Monday so that he could have Tuesday and Wednesday to do whatever, travel. And that's, again, thinking ahead. So trying to kind of pair, look out for the next week and say, okay, let me shift my schedule to this, and being okay with that, and being okay with shifting your schedule and maybe having to knock off something because of a time constraint.
Yeah.
Always better to get in and do something, and, then to just kind of throw your hands up and be mad at the world and mad at your family.
So, what about the stressors of holidays and anything like that, and how that affects recovery?
Oh, you mean as far as consuming foods,
Yeah.
or?
Well, any of that, and then any advice about how to manage those stresses to better recover between training sessions.
I guess I'm thinking along the lines of just, holiday eating, holiday travel, holiday. I mean, is that kind of where
Yeah.
what you're asking? I mean, I guess it really depends on how much what you've planned as far as your training goes, like when you're training. Making sure that if you're going to do it 2 times a week, I mean, if you have to do back-to-back days, do back-to-back days, but, trying to make sure you're getting enough sleep, trying to make sure you're, eating and enjoying what you're eating, but not overindulging. So you can't train, in another couple of days. I think that's more well, I don't know why I'm blanking on trying to figure out that. I feel like that's very kind of individual. Just make sure you're not overdoing it.
Yeah.
If you want to train.
Yeah. I guess, just, knowing yourself, I think is important there.
Exactly.
So sometimes, a person might feel more, depending on who they are, more or less exhausted or worn out from travel, or more or less exhausted from
Yeah.
social interactions, depending
Yes.
on if they're an introvert or extrovert, and just being aware of I always think it's helpful, and I always record in my training log what my RPE is, so, if you've got a lot of travel or holiday obligations, you might be able to lift the same amount, but your RPE might be higher. You
Totally.
might notice the effect of the additional stress in that way. Maybe you might be a little bit more sore after a training session. Um, just also keep an eye on how much sleep you're getting, whether your sleep is being disrupted by any of the activity or different foods or different beverages that you're consuming, because disrupted sleep can also have a negative impact on recovery.
And if you're dealing with any kind of nagging issues, let's say a nagging shoulder issue, or knees that tend to bother you every now and then, and you feel those issues have been exacerbated, like they're a little bit more prominent, like you feel them, notice them more, that could very well be a sign of stress, of that, something's going on, right? And not to panic. I had new member who's been training. She's been with us for about a month and a half, and she came in last Thursday to train, and her knees were killing her. And her knees aren't fabulous, and we're working on that, but they were killing her. But I could tell right away when she walked in the door, her whole attitude was just kind of screamed like, I'm about to lose it. She was moving that weekend. Somebody from her, like a long time friend of hers from her past who she doesn't really talk to anymore. She saw, so she was talking a mile a minute about that. I mean, it was like, everything was like, you were so stressed. No wonder everything hurts. I mean, everything was hurting her. She couldn't squat. Her knees were completely like, they were a mess. I said, this is all stress related. And after this is all done and this weekend has come and gone, you'll be fine. Came yesterday, piece of cake. Nothing bothered her. Nothing bothered her. I mean, breezed through her session. Her whole demeanor was different. Everything. I said, this is what stress does to you. It exacerbates every little thing in your body if you have something, if there's a weak link. So if you start to notice things are kind of feeling off, stop and check yourself. Like, okay, obviously it's not not the weights. Like, everything's great. I was great last week. What's the difference? Oh, my mother's coming to town. Oh, I've got this going on. Oh, I've got to remember there are other things, that the stress in our life will completely infiltrate our bodies, and everything starts to become like the worst case scenario. So careful not to go there to worst case scenario. That's it. I'm done. I can't lift. No, you're going to be fine. Pull back, remove something from your program that day, bring down the weight. Not a big deal. Check in with yourself a couple of days later. And I mean, like I said, this was like night and day from Thursday to Tuesday. Totally different.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's all, I think, really, really good advice. If you're feeling like you're under a lot of stress, sometimes it manifests in ways that you wouldn't necessarily anticipate, right?
Yeah.
Like, you might not feel anxious or sick to your stomach or something, but maybe for the past week you keep waking up at 2 a.m. and have trouble going back to sleep. Or maybe when you come in to do your workout, RPE is higher, or joints are stiffer or sore, or more soreness between lifts. So monitor that. Take note of that in your training log, because I can't even tell you like how easy it is to mash the days together. Like, wait, was I experiencing like knee pain last workout, or was it the week before? So keep a note of all of that stuff in your training log. And then I think some of the big things to pay attention to are how much sleep you're getting. Like, if I have a crap night's sleep, I'll make note of that in my training log. And sometimes, if I've been someplace and had unusual foods or beverages that affect my digestion in a different way, I make note of that too, because that could have an influence. And I think also at the holidays, a lot of times people feel like they're hydrating, but maybe they're hydrating by drinking coffee or drinking a beer, or whatever it is. So really focus on making sure that you're getting a decent amount of water, or I'd say water. I don't know if you would also say like a
tea,
Gatorade,
water. Yeah. I mean, Gatorade, sometimes somebody might need that, especially if,
But keep track of all of that, pay attention to all of that, manage as much of that as you're able to. And when you come in to train, if you notice that you're still having these effects, something is aching, or you feel a nagging injury that talks to you from time to time, like a creaky knee or whatever, don't be afraid to pull it back. It's okay. Just like you're describing with your member who came in and pulled things back for that one day, and then lived to slay another day.
I knew exactly. I mean, I was like, it was, for me, it was completely apparent what was going on. Like,
well, that's the other thing too. When you're training with other people or with a coach, sometimes what's apparent to them is not apparent to you.
I mean, she was like,
it's helpful to have an open mind.
She was like, but she's like, but Tuesday was so wonderful. And I even made a note in my logbook how everything felt great. I'm like, that was Tuesday. Today is Thursday. You came in like a bundle of, a whirling dervish, and that is going to affect how things go. And sometimes you come in and you feel like crap and everything moves really well. That's fine. But usually if there's a aching in your body, I always know when one of my clients, when her back is bothering her, I'm like, you're stressed. What's going on at work? Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I'm not worried about this. Like, I'm not worried about this. Like, I don't worry about little aches and pains here or there that people have, because they come and go like this, and usually come and go around whatever's happening in their life. Other things, other issues that are real issues, that's different, right? And I know those issues, but things like that, where like from one day to the next, I'm like, yeah, we just don't do that. We just don't. It's not, and it wasn't that you took Advil. I mean, Advil's not that. If it was like that, I'd be shooting up every day with that, with Advil. So it's not that. It's, it's called that everything is done and you're finally, where you need to be. And when I mentioned the person's name, she was like, who? I'm thinking, see, you don't even remember now. But I heard his name the entire hour that she was, that she was there. So it does make a difference. I know how stress affected me, when Charlotte was sick and then after her death. So it's, and then subsequently all other, crap that happened. So it's definitely real.
Yeah.
And you have to be mindful of that, which is why I don't worry too much sometimes about shoulders or knees. I kind of I check in with like, what's happening in my life. And I go, yeah, okay, got it.
Yeah. Real and also surprising, because that's the other thing. Like you were just describing, it doesn't always affect a person the same way, even the same person.
No.
So a person under stress one day might come in and feel aches and pains, and a different day, same stresses, not notice anything. Like, we are not machines.
No.
And how our bodies deal with those things can vary, based on, I don't know, a whole bunch of different factors that we can't even.
Yeah. And if it's like if it feels like it seems like it comes on all of a sudden too, it could be also a sign that you're getting sick. That happens to one of my clients. Like, he knows exactly when things are starting to kind of go down, within like the next day, he's got a cold. Like, next day, he's sick. So that's something to think about, especially right now, because
especially while you're visiting all these people over the
right.
holidays.
Yeah. I mean, we've got the flu, we've got colds, we've got COVID, we've got RSV, we've got a ton of crap. So that's
smorgasbord of germs.
That's everywhere too. So you need to keep that in mind. If you're feeling run down, it could be you're run down and you're going to get sick. Or then if you decide to train hard, you may make yourself even worse. So there's that. There's a lot of things to think about. So as we go back to the very, very beginning of the podcast, when we say, be good to yourself, don't beat yourself up, and be flexible. Just take the next, these next couple months to kind of work and do what you can and get in when you can, and be happy that you are making a plan. And the plan is, I'm going to do what I can. That's the plan, right? A, B, and C. Plan A, plan B, plan C is, I'm going to do what I can. As I always tell people, warm up and see how you feel. Right? When they come in, they go, my shoulder kind of feels a little funky today. Warm up and see how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't feel good, stop. And if it feels great, keep going. But I can't help you other than warm up and see how it feels, because that's about the extent of, me being able to get into your own body and tell you what's going on. I love when people ask me, can you tell me what's going on with my knee? I'm not a doctor. I have no idea what's going on with your knee. Warm up and see how it feels. So yeah, exactly. That really is our mantra. Warm up and see how it feels. So warm up and see how it feels for the next couple of months, and enjoy your time if you can, and try to give yourself some alone time. We all need that. We all need alone time. And that New Year's is around the corner, and was it new year, new you? Is that what they say?
Yeah, that's what people say.
Yeah, people are always like, and the gym's gonna be packed come January. I'm like, no, it's actually not gonna be packed come January. Nobody just decides, you know what, I'm gonna get stronger this year.
Yeah,
I mean,
not
I like
your
that.
gym, but commercial gyms.
Commercial gyms, yes.
Up until St. Patrick's Day, and then they all disappear.
everybody, it's just, and that's the thing. It's you got to ease into it. You got to ease into it. People always ask me, how often should I train? I had a gentleman come in today to inquire about a membership and how often should I train? I said, whatever works for your schedule. I'm not going to tell you. I said, once a week is not enough. It's just going to be a little harder to make progress. Twice a week is great. If you can get in there consistently twice a week. I'd rather somebody get in here twice a week on a consistent basis than someone who says they're going to come in 3 times a week and shows up once a month.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you be realistic with your goals, be realistic with your schedule. And that pertains to now too. Be realistic with your schedule, with your time now between now and the end of the year. What time do you have? What are your obligations? How am I going to fit training in with my obligations? How am I going to fit training in if I don't always feel fantastic? What are some things I should do or think about doing? And that's what Rebecca and I, have already discussed. So
warm up and see what you can do.
Warm up and see what you can do. And on that note, we'll end there. So, it's always just kind of like take things in stride, right? One day at a time, as I always say, one day at a time. If you've got any questions or comments on what we've talked about today in our podcast, we'd love to hear from you. We will have a link in our show notes. I've started my fundraising campaign for the music therapy program at Gilchrist Hospice. We're in my birthday month right now. So December 3rd is our Stronger Together meet. So we'll be taking donations from now through December 4th, I'd say, into that Monday. It's actually a link. The link I'm putting in the show notes is a link to Gilchrist's donation page, to their own page. So if you would like to make a donation to Gilchrist in honor of the music therapy program in memory of Charlotte, please make a note in the area of need music therapy program. That way it goes directly to that program. So I'll have the link in the show notes for that. It's the entire month of November. Please donate if you can. If you're in the area in Baltimore and you want to come and see the lifters on December 3rd, we'll be lifting at 9 a.m. till 1 p.m. Our Stronger Together meet should be a lot of fun. So thank you again for joining us today. You can always reach us with any questions or comments at Emily@5by3.com or Rebecca
at cornerstonestrengthmaryland@gmail.com.
We thank you for listening again, and we will be back in a couple weeks. Thanks, Rebecca.
See you later. Take care.
Bye, guys. Thanks for listening to 5by3 Radio with Emily and Rebecca. If you like our show and want to know more about 5by3 training, please visit us at www.5, that's F-I-V-E, the letter X, the number 3.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram. To learn more about Rebecca, please visit her website, cornerstonestrengthmaryland.com. Thanks for listening and have a great week.